All right. Let's bring up the game this week. We got another debate this week, and it ties into the current times, um, based on what's going on right now. So I can't take credit for this. I did see this on Twitter, and I pulled from it, and I switched up. I added a fourth one that wasn't on here, but your best long-term storyline that was a year or longer in pro wrestling. So
what was the one you added?
Currently going on, Savage Hogan.
Okay.
Bloodline, Sting versus Hogan, Savage versus Hogan, and Triple H versus Batista. Which is your best long-term year-plus storyline?
To me, this is number one. Or Bloodline is number one because this is where the storyline is like. To me, this feels like the storyline are more important than the matches. You're just going. I'm just going along for the storyline alone.
So you you have no interest in the payoff. You just are there because the story's that.
Hold up.
I want the payoff.
Wait up! When this podcast started, you just cared about the matches and not the story.
I know. Remember? Oh, but I can still watch matches. Yeah. I can still watch matches, but this storyline right here, just give me a soap opera right here. Cut out the matches.
So Dave, the reason, and again, I didn't create this list. Bloodline was included in the list that I borrowed, stole everything in pro wrestling stolen. So, even though the Bloodline storyline's going on, it's been 2.5 years. Like you gotta include it on any list, and maybe prisoner of the moment, okay, but I think it's been told so well over the 2.5 years that it's been going on that it deserves to be in the discussion as is right now, no matter how it ends. So whether or not it ends in a couple weeks.
So the only one on here that I got take off for me, and it's not because it's not a good storyline, is because I didn't watch it unfold whenever it was on. I only know the history of it and video packages, and that's Savage versus Hogan. I wasn't a fan at that time. I didn't start till WrestleMania 6, so I didn't see that develop week in and week out. I just know the story years later. So
the mega powers explode.
Exactly.
Pause. That's what she said.
You got lust in your eyes for Elizabeth?
Yeah, you got lust in your eyes for Elizabeth.
For me, it's Sting and Hogan is number one on here. Best story. Because you guys know me in the Bloodline. I haven't enjoyed the Bloodline story since Survivor Series. Yeah, that's whenever it kicked off for me. So.
And Sting and Hogan arguably had the worst payoff of the match did not live up to the hype of the story that was told.
Talk about an ending of a match that just shit the bed.
The buildup was so good. Sting
creative control, brother. Creative control.
Week in and week out. Woo.
Yep. One person didn't say a single word the whole time.
And millions of people tuned in.
Like you had to watch Nitro during that time. Like fans are so gypped nowadays because they don't have that. But to know that you can't change the channel because if you missed what happened,
you don't get to see it.
You didn't know when it was going to happen during the show. Which kudos to Bischoff and them.
I said this to Donald the other day. I miss the days with my TV and picture, just having one and the other one down there, and just be like, okay, got to flip to the other one now.
Yeah, like to not know that, hey, the fourth segment of every Nitro, Sting and Hogan are going to do something, a la the women in AEW. You had to tune in from start to finish because you never knew when it was going to happen. And just everything about it was tremendous. The character switch for Sting was just tremendous. I mean, yeah, that's prime wrestling years for me. That just, I'm not going to be mad at you for putting that number one on your list.
And I know during those Monday Night Wars, this is before DVR. I had 2 VCRs, one upstairs in my room and one downstairs, and I had to tape both of them. So I was flipping back and forth, but I had both tapes so I could go back and watch, if there was something I did miss while watching the other one.
Oh, you was rich. You had 2 VCRs with 2 TVs going. I was in my bedroom on my little 13-inch TV.
Exactly. Yes, it was.
Like, they don't even make 13-inch TVs no more.
13-inch tube TV. For me,
weighed 25 pounds.
Yeah. For me, my favorite storyline that was a year or longer had to been Hogan Savage. I was watching wrestling by that time. I mean, I was a Hogan fan, but whenever Savage turned on Hogan, I became the ultimate Savage fan. I was believing everything Savage was saying. He had lust in his eyes for Elizabeth. Whatever Savage was spitting out, I was believing. I was the cult follower of that. From that point on, I hated Hogan for everything he did. He broke up the Mega Powers to me. It's still real to me, damn it. I did not like that result at WrestleMania 5. I was so mad. I was crying in my dad's arms like, that's not fair. That's not fair.
And also, Bloodline's going on in the era of where we know it now that it's not real. Hogan Savage, that was like
K-Pave at his best.
Yeah.
I mean, Triple H and
behind the scenes was some stuff was going on.
Triple H and Batista was kind of during like the onion was peeled back, but not all the layers were revealed yet, right? So, like, even with that, they still had you. I think, like you said, Jay, to give a bonus point to the Bloodline storyline is the fact that it is going on now in this era where everybody is an expert, everybody knows everything. Hell, AEW is doing an all-access show to show you everything behind the scenes and everything else, right?
For the first time ever, behind the scenes in pro wrestling.
Yeah.
But Total Divas was on the show 10 years ago.
I am curious to see where that show goes because I want to see what the different spin is going to be and if they really are going to like just completely destroy kayfabe like Tony Khan did with his announcement of it's storyline Eddie Kingston. Yeah. So yeah, Bloodline would get a bonus for that given the era that it's going on in. From a true fan perspective, Savage Hogan, like I was such a Hulkamaniac back then. It wasn't even funny. Like, say your prayers, eat your vitamins, like all of it, right? And then Savage just the distaste, the hate, like having hate for somebody as like a 6-year-old is unbelievable. But I hated Savage. So from a fan perspective, that's probably my number one on the list. From a straight fan perspective,
Taquan.
Always. It's always his fault, Taquan. Always. But I feel I have to knock Sting versus Hogan because of the match, the ending, the payoff was just such a letdown. It was such a wet fart in church. It was unbelievable. So for me, all things considered, I'm going to put the Bloodline at number one. The bonus points for the era that it's going on in, the fact that it's been not just 1 year, they've gone almost 3 years with this storyline, which I think
Bloodline's the group that you added to this list.
No, I didn't. Bloodline was on here because I thought it was the whole. Whenever I saw the tweet with it on here, I'm like, oh, okay. And then I started looking at it. I'm like, well, we got storylines from all different eras, right? So, and they're all very compelling. They're all very good. They're all very well done. It's just a matter of when did you start watching wrestling? I feel would kind of sway your vote as far as which storyline you felt was the best.
I'd also like to know what they're referencing for Triple H and Batista, because I don't know if they actually had like a full year or more, like in their main story. Like over time, yes, like I get that, but like the main feud definitely wasn't a year.
Well, and that was a shameless plug for their rivalry on A&E, trying to get a sponsorship. But yeah, like I mean, you could, there's been storylines that I think are better than Triple H and Batista. Like you go Dusty and Four Horsemen, but that wasn't like a year plus build. Like so, but I'll put the Bloodline number one.
I feel like I'm not giving Hogan as much credit as he deserved because I hated NWO so much that I didn't even care. It was like a legit hate.
Well, that's the other thing. Like we shit on brother right now, but Hogan is legitimately on this list, and it's a legitimate list. Like it's not. Those are two amazing stories that happened in pro wrestling. Like you could have went with Undertaker and Kane, but I don't think that was a year long.
Off and on, yeah.
Off and on. I mean, same with Shawn and Brett. You could go off and on for more than a year, but
would you put Hangman in Omega?
Omega. If I'm just looking at these,
falls, in the time frame, but
if I'm looking at these four, the only one that I would argue Hangman and Omega against to be on the list, and I'd have to like really go back and study both, would be the Triple H and Batista. I don't think Hangman Omega boots any of the other three off.
I don't even think it would be Triple H and Batista. That was their trilogy that they had, from WrestleMania through, I think it was like Hell in a Cell, was a good trilogy.
So, but yeah, hit us up on social media. Let us know which storyline 1 year or longer is your favorite in pro wrestling history.